We don't talk a lot about grace in life, and you wonder just how powerful it is in business, in family, in everything we do. Man, it's so powerful. It's so powerful that the scripture in itself says it is by grace that you have been saved through faith, not from yourselves. It is the gift of God, not by works, so that no one can boast. Wow. It's the power of grace. The grace that has the power to save, not just when you're looking at it from a spiritual perspective of your relationship, our relationship with God, our relationship with each other's grace has such saving power when we use it in our daily lives. And I've invited a dear friend, Joe McGettigan, on the program, and he is in the real estate sector and has such a powerful story to tell about the impact of grace when we live by it, when we utilize it, when we allow it to enter our lives and through us. Massive impact, massive significance, massive purpose, massive contribution, massive potential. I can't wait for you to listen in. I'm Dr. Nate Salah, and this is a call to leadership. Joe, thanks for being on the show.
It's an honor to be here.
Glad you're here. This has been a long time coming.
Yeah.
We have great conversations. You and I talk a lot about business, life, family, faith, and being able to share it with our listener, our audience will resonate.
Mm-hmm.
You've had an interesting last 24 hours?
It has been. I would say it actually started on Friday. I'm just going to give you a quick little backstory. In order to close a real estate deal, I'm a real estate agent, and when there's heirs to a property, you have to have everybody sign. And this was a very unique situation where the family had a lot of siblings. Some of them were in poor health. So we really had to think outside the box and how we were going to really help this family have closure with this property. And the last piece of it was finding a sibling who was homeless. And had a chance to talk to family, had a chance to talk to other people that he knew, letting me know where he was. And I went out looking for him on Friday to help him, to talk to him about this. And
how do you look for someone who's homeless?
A lot of prayer. But it was talking to the people that he'd lost touch to and to the areas that he kind of went around. So Friday I was talking to hospitals to see if he had checked in. It was cold outside. They mentioned that he was around Kirkwood a lot, so I reached out to Kirkwood Police Department. They knew him. He said he comes into his lobby a lot when it's cold outside. Went around to Denny's, to the library, try to find out other areas that might, be shelters for this man. And he would go from Kirkwood to South County, apparently. And, a few of the hotels in the area had worked with him and just hadn't been able to stay there long term. We weren't able to close on this property without this man's signature. In a way, the only other thing we could have done is spend another 90 days with courts and fees from banks. The family would have had to bring more money to the table to close on this property, and was on the phone this morning at about 8:15 with an attorney and the owner of Freedom Title, who has really been wonderful for us and worked with us and helped us kind of get outside the basic knowledge of closing title and really find creative ways to find this. And they said the fastest way to do this was to get the homeless man to sign. And I spent all day Friday looking for him. Sunday, after an open house, I went back through this area looking for him again, seeing if he was just out on the road or anything. I didn't find him. Well,
you knew, I suppose you had like a description?
I had a description. The family sent pictures with me, kind of gave me, what he looked like. And there were people out that were out there that I was asking them, are you Anthony? And, said, no, my name is Kelvin, or I have a brother named.
You're literally seeing people who
are homeless,
and you're asking them if they're that person.
This person.
Did you have an idea of what you were planning on saying when you did find him?
My name's Joe. I'm here to help. You know,
Just
I'm
that
working with your siblings, and I'm helping the family try to find closure with this property. This was their deceased siblings' property that we were trying to close on, and there was people that were ready to move in. You know, and we had this deal since May under contract, and because of the challenges when a person is deceased with property, and if an estate is not left neat and tidy, it can be really detrimental to the family, you know, and the people involved to help.
Let me ask you this. Is this typical for real estate professionals?
It is not.
Yeah.
It's not. When you go through real estate, they teach you how to buy and sell property, but they don't tell you about the dynamics within real estate. And this is one of those. And, you know, after I spoke with Freedom Title this morning about 8:30, we got off the phone around 8:30, 8:45. I was sitting in my car ready to go to the gym and literally called this man after sending him text messages and voicemails, and he answered. He answered this morning for me.
Oof.
And I got emotional because it was like we were supposed to talk to each other, you know, at this exact moment. And by the grace of God, I stayed on the phone with him for 45 minutes. I said that I want to help him. You know, we were talking about breakfast. We just ate at the Waffle House together. You know, the people from the title company met with us, so they were able to get everything signed and delivered. And I got to stay with him. And him and I had breakfast. And, you know, I threw it out there. I was like, how can I help you? And he let me know that he had a bike on layaway, and he just wanted to get it so he could get around town. And, I mean, he's been homeless for a while. You know, and it just, the ability to listen to what he was challenged with. And, you know, sometimes it's just the listening part that people need, especially in those situations. But, you know, we got to the bikes after breakfast. We got in touch with his family, let them know that everything was done. They felt great. His friend, who's an attorney, you know, that he's talked to over the years, we let him know everything that was going on. And I ended up giving him a ride to the bike store, and he had a balance on there, and we got him a helmet and a bike lock. And then the company there threw in the water bottle for him, and it was just a great thing. And he has my card, and, you know, he just fell on really hard times.
Yeah.
And, you know, we don't plan to get into a situation like that, you know, and you know, family tries to help the best way that family can. But, you know, it was just the stuff that they don't talk to you about in real estate school, or the agents that you talk to, maybe they don't go this extra effort. But, you know, my job as a real estate agent is to sell property, and this was the hardest deal in my almost 4 years of experience doing this, and not only within real estate but professionally. The amount of people I had medical directors, I had guardians that were caring for other siblings, you know, and it was really, you know, it gives me, now I feel like I have to take on a quest, because I don't want anybody else to experience this, you know, from a real estate standpoint, let alone, you know, addressing the homeless need that we have in this country, you know. And as a real estate agent, you know, my job is to find everybody a house. And, you know, Anthony, this man, and I are going to continue to keep in touch.
Yeah.
You know, if I can help with him. I told him that I have a background as a recruiter, so I love helping people find jobs, helping bring out the goodness in them, the transferable skills, you know, helping them communicate how they can add value
Yeah.
to things. So,
Bro.
yeah.
Wow.
I needed this
Yeah.
this cry. You can yeah.
It's real. And, you know, you didn't go into this week with a preconceived notion of everything you were going to do.
Yeah.
You didn't judge. You didn't, it's, you know, especially when you're dealing with the homeless or the unhomed, there's so many preconceived notions that can happen all of us, right? And you set that aside.
Yeah.
Just to be a human being with another human being.
Yeah.
Where does that come from?
The more the merrier. kind of thing. There's so many things that people are struggling with, and it's to find the easy path. Find the. They say there's a lot of things about leaning into the challenges. I'm right. That we did that today with this transaction, but also find God's grace.
Mm-hmm.
For that man to be able to answer the phone, agree to meet with me, to bring in the other person, to the person from Freedom Title to help us with this transaction, and then to be able to help him with something that's just, helping him with a balance on a layaway bike and a couple other things. I would want someone to do that for me.
Yeah.
So I've been challenged. I'm sure anybody that's listening to this has always been challenged with things. Maybe where the transaction, the engagement, just the situation. It kind of came to a position where it had to stop because there wasn't a lot of resources or creativity to get there. And I feel that because I was honored to go this extra length for this family, and for them to know that people are out there that care. I know that there could come a time in my life where I'm going to need that same kindness returned. And I always tell people we're paying into the karma bucket.
Well, and you could have taken a much different approach. You could have said, hey guys, when you find him, we're here to finish the transaction. If that happens, if not.
It was surprising how many people were just like, this house is unsellable. You just got to let it go in disarray and let the amount of work that would have gone into like not caring for the property is what was so sad. It's like, as entrepreneurs, we find ways to make a win-win-win scenario. It's never going to be with me. It's never a win-loss or a win. I have an 8-year-old, and the biggest thing I'm teaching him right now is what's fair, and just being able to put this kind of effort and compassion and allowing real estate to give me this chance to do this, that's one of the reasons I love it so much, is it really it allows that entrepreneurial spirit to really come out.
Yeah. And the opportunity for it, like how many hundreds of times do we not even glance at this kind of an opportunity? It's like, it's just beyond my scope. Mm-hmm. It's not in my job description. However, when you suit up every day, when you suit up, you don't suit up as just someone who looks at life from a job description. You look at life from the perspective of someone with a calling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, that's who you are. You are called to love people, to walk in grace. Man, I tell you what, I've been hearing that so much lately, and we need to hear more of that. We need to hear more of God's grace.
Yeah.
Not just to us, but through us.
Mm-hmm. Amen.
And that demonstration, you think about, and then you mentioned compassion, and it brought me to, of course, at the recording of this, it's Christmas time, right?
Yeah.
It's Christmas time. So obviously so much about Jesus. And it reminds me of in the 9th chapter of the book of Matthew at the end, he's seeing these people, and the Bible says that they were helpless and they were harassed. And I'm thinking of Anthony, right?
Yeah.
Helpless and possibly harassed.
Yeah.
And what is the next thing that the scripture says? And Jesus saw them and he had compassion on them, not judgment. It didn't say that he scolded them or told them they need to go out and get a job, figure it out, do it on your own. No.
Yeah.
And then after the compassion, what does he say? He says, the harvest is plenty, but the workers are few.
Yeah.
That's us, man. Mm-hmm. We're the workers.
Yeah.
We're the ones to not only share compassion, but action, right? Because compassion is not just saying, oh, I feel sorry for you. It's actually taking action.
Yeah.
Right? And you did that. And so you're having food, which you didn't. Did you plan on all that? The Waffle House.
It was a goal, believe it or not. I wanted him to know that I feel the best way to show somebody that you care about them is to buy them food.
Yeah.
You
Intentionality.
know, like if you're a boss and you have employees, take them out to lunch.
Yeah. Because food is it's the universal language, right?
Yeah.
Humanity. If we don't eat, we don't live, right?
Yeah.
So it is like it's the universal language of sustenance. That same thing when I'm here at the office and bring something to eat, right? It's also like a peace offering.
Yeah.
If you think about
I want them to feel, and when you're over food, and you know, we prayed over food this morning, him and I, and after the woman had to leave after she got the paperwork, just to be there with him in prayer and just be grateful. You know, it's and I told him, I was like, I can't tell you the last time I was in a Waffle House. You know, so the nostalgia of if you've ever been in a Waffle House, you know, it's there.
Absolutely. And it's a hot meal.
Yeah.
A hot meal for someone who is in that kind of situation
Mm-hmm.
with someone who's not going to condemn them.
Yeah. Again, if I was ever in that position, I'd want that done for me.
Yeah.
You know, and there's so much truth. I think Gandhi, you know, be the change that we want to see in the world. You know, it's there's so much truth in that, and if you live it out as entrepreneurs, we do. You know, there's so many things, challenges and things, and if you can lean into the hard ones, but also keep an eye out for the grace.
Yeah.
It's there.
Oh my goodness. The
Yeah.
opportunities are there.
Yeah.
They're endless. And it's not just about helping someone else. Of course, that's essential. It's good for the soul.
Yeah,
It's good for our souls.
Yeah.
We need it, man.
It's when I left him, we shook hands. You know, he had his bike helmet on. He was excited about it. It's getting this nice, safe bike. You know, I got in my car, and you know, I shared the information with the family and everybody else. It just, and then knowing that I was going to come and hang out with you today, it just this is so far, it's been a great way to start my week.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
And it's a divine appointment, right? I mean,
Yeah.
come on. It's like the timing.
Yeah.
Right?
It really is.
So God had a story to tell in and through you, preordained, and here we are sharing it. And the message, you know, the message of the gift. And some people might say, well, you know, maybe that bike goes out and gets sold and whatever. You can't live like that.
No.
You can't live in that.
I saw how much the bike cost, and I think he only owed like $60 or $67 on it. And then, you know, I put on the helmet and the chain, you know, that he needed. And, you know, I was surprised. I was. Not judging or anything. I was just like, I'm glad that he took the time. He knew he obviously knew that he needed transportation. You know, this is the most economical thing for a person in his situation. And, you know, the bike was not cheap, you know, and for him to have that small balance, you know, and for those of you, you know, who aren't familiar with layaway, you know, it really is a gift for people in challenging situations. My mother, you know, I grew up on
layaway.
You know,
Layaway was it, right?
It makes a
Kmart
difference.
Layaway or whatever
And
else.
as soon as he said those words, I was like, I want to help. You know, and you know, it's great. It's just a great feeling to be there for somebody in a way that, you know, maybe they weren't planning. You know, how many other real estate agents would sit there and go through that? And I'm not trying to put myself on a pedestal or anything like that, but it was just something that I'm grateful for the opportunity.
Well, and the first thing that probably would go through someone's mind is, okay, what is my opportunity cost? How many things that I could have gotten done if I wasn't doing X, Y, and Z to help here, right? I could have maybe signed on a new property, or I could have done this or that and this and that. And I think I think we're asking the wrong questions.
You
know?
100%. It's part of the story.
Yeah.
You know, and as entrepreneurs, you know, people are going to invest in your product, your service, because of the individual, you know, and to really be able to be there and support this, you know, it's going to make me that much more effective with my next client, you know, and maybe people are going to be like, hey, I like what you're doing. I mean, the the bigger scale thing on the challenges that it takes to sell property, a lot of that, kind of getting in my Elon Musk phase here is like a lot of that can be streamlined. There's a lot of inefficiencies, and I hope that could be brought to an attention so we can be more effective helping families with their largest part of their legacy, their homes. And that's where this is so rewarding for me. As I was talking to my wife, who is sometimes the peanut gallery, but as an entrepreneur, you got to have that's the part I lean into. is what my wife is. Why are you doing this? And don't take them such hard. And I said, it's part of the story. I'm going to be that much more effective if I'm helping other agents, if I'm stepping into another family that could be going through something like this. It's going to give me that much more street cred, which as an entrepreneur, we need our street cred, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, and the way you display that, there's a authenticity.
Thank you.
And a genuinity to that. The thing about our brand, everyone has a brand, and it's based on our reputation, and our reputation is based on our actions, what we do, and our actions are based on our values, what's important to us, right? And our values are based on our beliefs. So if you go all the way back, to like the question is, the opening question then is, what do I believe? What do I believe about how I create an experience for all of those who I get to encounter? What's the greater story in all of this? And I believe if you can be intimately not only acquainted, but invested in improving the human condition in whatever the widget is, whether it's real estate, whether it's a tax return, whether it's a Chick-fil-A sandwich, anywhere along the line, you're dealing with human beings who have needs. And sometimes those needs arise and they're just a little different than what the job description is. But if you believe that I'm here to provide value and massive value to improving the human condition as it arises in my day-to-day, I'm going to suit up for that. And who would want to do business with a person like that? Right? Who's committed, who has massive sense of not only purpose, but has a massive sense of principle. Like that's who you want to surround yourself with.
Yeah.
And if you can be that person, so the story goes so far beyond like, oh yeah, you know what? I did something cool this week. No, dude, I had purpose. I had significance. I had contribution. And I was able to help one life, whatever that looks like. We don't know this side of heaven, how that ripples. I can tell you what, I'll take that over the alternative any day.
Yeah. You just, we have so much to be grateful for. And, it's as somebody who, appreciates just working with other people, it really is that's the fire in my belly. The opportunity to create these relationships, these opportunities to be able to support folks without out-of-box thinking, unconventional ways. That's the grace.
Yeah.
Man, that's the grace. Grace is outside the box.
Oh yeah. I love grace. Unmerited favor, right?
Yeah.
You can't earn it, ascertain it. You can't maintain it. It's given. And that's what's beautiful about grace. I love it straight from on high. And and it's sufficient. What was said to Paul, right? My grace is sufficient. My power is made perfect in weakness. We have to lay our lives down and receive the grace because we can't give away what we never have. We have to receive it first. If you're listening and you haven't received grace, it's time to receive it. It's time to say, you know what? I need a little grace in my life.
Yeah, that makes things easier. And it gives us, as the woman was leaving, the woman from Freedom Title, after we were able to secure all those signatures and everything. And, Anthony felt good about, helping with the transaction. I walked her out and I said, thank you so much, Katie, for helping me with this. And we gave each other hugs because we couldn't believe that this happened. And she's waving. I was like, hey, Prayers work.
That's right. Oh, wait.
You know, we gotta know what to ask for, and that's part of it. And you know, part of those prayers can be asking for that grace. You know, just make this as easy as possible, and nothing's easier than sitting down over a hot breakfast, signing a couple documents.
Yeah.
You know, with another person.
And grace has a way of quelling fear too, because we often will live in fear of the change. What maybe life has some twists and turns ahead, and we're not quite sure of the way it's going, with some uncertainty, or we might have had an expectation of how things should have went today or yesterday or when Friday or Saturday, or for you, or Sunday.
Yeah.
Right. When we live in grace, we live in a state where we can reject the fear that comes along with feeling like we have to control the situation. Sometimes, you know what, like you said, it's prayer. It's out of control. You know, it's whatever's gonna happen is gonna happen. I'll walk through. But I walk in that freedom. It's a different, completely different mindset. It's a completely different perspective on the day. Now, that doesn't mean, you know, oftentimes days don't go exactly the way you want, the way I want, right? I mean, seriously, man. I mean, you and I have been on this planet long enough to realize that plans don't go the way we desire, but both of us as men of faith, believers, know really the only plan, this is how I've begun to understand it. The only plan that ever works every time is obedience.
Love it. Love it.
Because look, obedience means I'm just going to be obedient to pray, to care, to listen, to love, to offer grace. And the day may go completely different than what I expected, the week, the month, the year. However, if I walk in obedience, guess what? That plan works. That plan never fails. No matter where it takes me.
You know, as for the people that are listening, this really is, you know, to have this mindset. You know, we all got into these roles for, you know, personal reasons, but we do the things that we're supposed to do. I listen to Bot Radio Network a lot, and Adrian Rogers, who's on every morning at 8 o'clock. You know, some people aren't good with the yelling and the real preaching. He says, you know, God does business with people that mean business, and that obedience, you know, is getting up when you don't want to, making the phone calls that you don't want to make, doing the things that you don't want to do, and it really is amazing when you do those things. It gets easier. That's the grace.
Yeah,
I love it.
It gets easier.
Yeah,
it's a good point you bring up. You're talking about, as you're talking about obedience and doing the things no matter what. That's where we get the word discipline from, right? And discipline, the root of that, right? Disciple, right? Disciple is a student. So when you're walking in obedience, you're really just walking as a student, and you're doing the work, right? You're doing the work. We're students. When you were studying for your real estate exam, you were putting in the work. Yeah, you weren't going to pass unless you put in the work.
Yep.
That's the reward.
So far, so good.
So far, so good. And you know, there are days like, and you brought it up, and this is important. There are days where you probably don't feel like it. You know, there's days where I don't feel like getting up and suiting up and walking in grace. And sometimes maybe we miss it. Maybe it wasn't a win that day. You know what? That's great. You know why? Because all the more reason for grace, right? Give yourself a little grace. Okay, guess what? You know what I love about each day? It's new. You know this. Never been used.
Never been. I like that. I'm going to use that. Yeah.
Right.
Never been used.
Right. And that's one of the reasons why I think we call it the present. It's a gift.
Yeah.
Man, every single day, a buddy of mine asked me how I was doing this morning. And I said, I woke up, open up the present, open up the gift of today.
Yeah.
Never been used. Look at this.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, it's a brand new day.
Yeah.
What do we do? Every day we're given that present, right?
Mm-hmm.
From God, and say, guess what I gave you? I gave you more time on this planet.
Mm-hmm.
You open it up. Do you say, oh, that again, right? That old thing, right? Or do you open it with anticipation?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness, thank you. What an amazing gift called the present
Mm-hmm.
that I get to open up and I get to use as a steward, as a servant,
Mm-hmm.
to bring you glory, to honor you with my time, my talents, my treasures, until I'm called home.
Uh-huh.
I mean, bro, that's the way to frame the day.
Yeah, it really is.
So you frame it like that. I mean, you're like, you're locked on.
Mm-hmm.
You're locked on, no matter what happens. Like, okay, yeah, you know what? That didn't work out. That didn't work out. That didn't work the way okay, it's all right. I still got grace in my pocket because it's sufficient.
It really is. As a real estate agent or other entrepreneurs that are on this podcast, it's that chance to really surprise yourself. Before I had our meeting today, I was just kind of sitting in some peace and quiet in my car and just kind of looking through the things that are going on, and just to be able to take that time to reflect.
Yeah.
Before coming in here, you would have thought I would have done the crying in the car. No, but it was being able to share it with somebody else is what was so meaningful.
Well, and I think that's important. And that actually is a great segue as I was thinking about your entire life experience. Your life experience is not compartmentalized. It's not it's not isolated. You live your life from the perspective of what are all the ways that I can create community and create a harmony rather than different buckets that everything is in a different space. You are a human being who desires to give of yourself, to find opportunity, and you're involved in different kinds of things, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they are both life-giving to you, and you give life. I think that's important. I think it's important to flesh some of that out, because someone listening maybe is in a point of isolation right now. And you would encourage that person to get out of that isolated space.
Yeah, that is truer words never spoken. It really is. And because, the way that, our minds work, sometimes you have to focus on things to allow like things to sneak in, for thoughts to happen that maybe you weren't thinking because you're tasked with this other project or this other piece. But yeah, it's, if it's one thing, being a real estate agent, as I like to move around, and just having that, and it's important, that you surround yourself with the right people.
And you're involved in humanitarian type of environments, and I think did you get an award for something?
Thank you for the reminder. Yeah, I was nominated and awarded a Hibernian of the Year. This Irish Catholic fraternal organization that I've been a part of for close to 20 years. We do a lot of stuff supporting Irish culture, our faith, Catholic faith, and just, we have a ladies division and a men's division, and there was and I was awarded the Hibernian of the Year for the organization. It was really an honor. It's
what has to happen for you to receive that honor? I mean, what are some of the criteria?
Part of my acceptance speech was I love to volunteer, and it's just being there, stepping outside. As my most valuable commodity to myself is really my time. Being able to do this, the breakfast this morning with Anthony, the support the charitable organization of the Hibernians, and then also be a support and a sounding board for other entrepreneurs that I'm friends with in this network. This ecosystem, and if I know that I get a lot from the Hibernians, the support, the recognition, the brotherhood, if you will, but also I like to give that kind of support. Maybe people that don't have that kind of that might be the isolated type. They don't have those groups of men that you can go to and support and laugh and learn things from. And it's just been, I've always been a part of clubs and organizations ever since high school and through college. I was class president, and it really, kind of feeds my soul, doing those things. So it's wonderful when you know that you can devote the time to support an organization, because, you usually, if you do it the right way, you'll get something from it.
Yeah. And I found the giving of our time, and you talk about volunteering, whether it's to serve in a soup kitchen or a group or wherever it might be, and the fellowship that comes from that is, like you said, it's life-giving. And it might just be a study you do once a week. I do every Monday we do a Bible study, and we're just going through a book of the Bible, and it's 4:30 to 5:30, and just a group of folks who are opening up the scripture, having conversation about real life, what's really going on, and me being the kind of person who I love to do that. I love to get deep into the Word and what the original context was and what was happening at the time and how that speaks to life. I get so much out of contributing in that space that I so look forward to that hour. Now, I could be doing something else. I'm a very efficient person. You're an efficient person, right? We can do things, and it's like, but at what cost? Really, truly, what cost, and the cost of really nourishing the soul.
Yeah, it's so important.
Yeah. So getting into that space where you can connect with others, and here's the other thing I think that comes up from that. When we are working with others to help to solve or to speak to or just to listen to problems or challenges they face, sometimes our problems, right? You know where I'm going with this, Joe. They're not so dire. I talk with people sometimes, say, well, this situation, I've heard about this family and that family, and everything's going great. And it's like, okay, number one, nobody has a situation where everything's going great, right? You work in the public sphere, I work in the public sphere, and everybody has problems, right? Everybody has challenges. You might look on social media, and it might seem like they're LTD, right? They're living the dream. Everybody has, no matter what you got. You can have lots of money. You could have spiritual, emotional, mental, physical bankruptcy. You could have lots of spiritual health. You can have emotional, financial, etc., right? You can have all of these domains. You can have challenges. We all have challenges in them. So I think one of the issues that we can have is that we live by comparison too much. And we say, oh, well, this person has that and this person has that. You know what? Let's just look at let's just look at need. Let's stop looking at what we think everybody has and say, you know what? Where's there a need? Because I can guarantee you that family who you might think has it all together, they probably need prayer somewhere. There's probably something. There's some unspoken need. Let's speak to that. That changes the dynamic of our entitlement mentality, as if God owes us something, right? There's only one thing, and we just already discussed it. There's only one thing that's necessary, and that's grace. And it's given freely. Okay. So everything else is gravy, bro.
It is. It can be.
It can be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you look at things there's so much to be said regarding the blessings that I tell my son, blessings come in different forms. You just got to look for them. And to find that piece of working through things, it's what, gets you ready for the next one. This one deal that took me since May, with multiple title companies, multiple people, to close, is only preparing me for the next big thing, and you almost have to go through this with like, what is going to be the next thing that I'm going to have to take on, but I know that I'm going to be able to take it on.
Yeah.
That's when we talk about kind of walking with this obedience, the discipline. I'm not afraid of things, and I mean that humbly, like there's, I might, kick and scream, for a little bit of it, but for the most part, I feel like there's, if somebody has a need, I want to do everything I can to support it.
Yeah. And you're a proud papa.
I am. Yeah. It's that out of all the careers and side hustles, being a dad is my favorite job.
Yeah, man.
It is. I'm still working on it.
Yeah.
He might give me a meets requirements until after Christmas. He's been a good kid, so Santa Claus will be fair.
Right. No lumps of coal.
Yeah, nothing like that. Yeah. Nothing too much.
What do you think in this journey of in your walk, in your faith walk, in your walk as an entrepreneur, and your walk as a parent and a husband? When we walk with God in our journey, it's not easy, right? God doesn't promise easy, right? There's challenges and we face along the way. However, He promises that He will never leave us.
He's always there.
Yeah. And so in your journey as a parent, as a husband, as an entrepreneur, as a member of your community, faithful member of your community, when you look at the journey and say, boy, this is really where I need God most in my walk. Someone listening is like, okay, where and when do you call on God and say, all right, hey, I can't do this on my own?
That's a great question. For me, I always, being within entrepreneurial, industry with real estate, I believe sales fixes everything. When I get to the part where it's not fixing something, it's give me the time to think about it, do something else. That's when we were talking about that earlier about, with isolation, sometimes we get so involved in a situation or a problem that we tend to, neglect other things. And it's finding balance, in doing those things, but also when I'm being challenged and I can't think of an answer, I can't think of a solution, I can't think of something, I need God to step in. It happens. It's to think that it doesn't is just silly. But I mean, one of my favorite songs is by MC Hammer. You got to pray just to make it today. And
Come on, bro.
Yeah, just with the things that we're dealing with. I mean, within real estate, it's properties, it's families, it's local governments, it's the federal government. There's so many things that are outside of my control. But if I can, be faithful and just keep being disciplined and doing the things that we're supposed to be doing, it works out. And, today could have been totally different, with this family, but it was by the grace that this other person was able to join us with the paperwork. Anthony was able to be there, and I had the time to devote to the opportunity.
It's a huge win.
Yeah.
There's so much wisdom in what you're sharing, and just stopping and praying. And I look at prayer as a way to also hit reset, in our spirit, prayer, meditation, just
Mm-hmm.
it's that time that you can just quiet everything. Sometimes we need to quiet the noise.
Mm-hmm.
I've been here. It's been busy or some situation, and I'll just stop and pray and just reset the spirit and come into a place where trust becomes the active motivator. And what is trust? Trust is saying, look, I don't have all the answers. I don't control the whole situation. this may not turn out the way I expected it. At the same time, I trust you.
Yep.
That's that aspect, I think, of prayer that, and by the way, it doesn't have to happen when things are falling apart.
To be consistent, be disciplined with it. I not only pray during meals, I really try to make it a part of my daily life, praying for the parking spot, praying for the song I want to hear, praying for the conversation, for the meeting to go the way that I hope that it can go. You just got to do it. And more people, I'm surprised how many people call on it.
Yeah.
Now, the word is out.
Oh, yeah.
I love it.
Oh, yeah. And here's the other thing. Be careful what you pray for, because you're likely going to get it. And
Yeah.
and I say that because sometimes when we're praying to get around a situation, sometimes we're going to be taken straight through it. Sometimes there needs to be something worked out in us through that prayer. I mean, in my own life, this is so true. And I know in your life and someone listening, it's like, well, I this is happening in my life. Like, well, did you pray about that? Did you pray for that? Well, no, I prayed for this. I'm like, well, it sounds just like God's taking you through it. And the thing about prayer, when it's situational, there's something usually deeper than what we're experiencing. Sometimes we just want like a quick fix. But sometimes it's just to the soul. Like you were praying to find a guy.
Mm-hmm.
But God, I mean, he revealed something in your soul, in your spirit, that's like, oh my goodness, wow.
Mm-hmm.
There's something here with this situation that you just coming into this conversation, like I feel like a quest, and only God knows how that will be manifested. Only God knows how he'll continue to open doors for you to speak to this, and only God knows how even our conversation today will resonate across time and space.
Yeah. Powerful.
Isn't
I
it?
love it. I love it. Yeah.
But it started with obedience. And you could have given up Friday. You could have given up Saturday. You could have said, you know what? I did my part. I did everything I can do, but you didn't.
Yeah. This morning when I was on the phone with the owner and a Freedom Title, I was really trying to walk through different scenarios to make this work. And, and I think that's part of the bigger picture. That's where I want this, purchasing a property and or selling a property, managing a property with the family estate is challenging, but it should be easier. There's a lot of families that are put through the ringer, as this one was, and I'm just grateful that the flame stayed lit. I didn't want to have this. I didn't want to walk around thinking that I couldn't have sold, that there was stuff outside of my control that I couldn't manage, because we really did, and it was a team effort to make this work. With the family, the guardians, the attorneys, the medical directors, everybody. I mean, there was close to 25 people involved in this one transaction.
Yeah.
Little old house.
Well, something else that comes up, and I think this is important to discuss it as well in this whole process, in this whole example, in this whole story, is modeling. And I'm not talking about modeling in front of a camera, although you have done that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Easy on the eyes, right?
Yeah.
It's modeling behavior. What behavior am I modeling? One, right? So we have to examine our surroundings. We briefly discussed that, to examine our environment, because our environment shapes. We're pliable. Human beings are pliable. Whatever environment we're in will shape our beliefs, our values, and so on, to our reputation and to our brand. Number one. Number two, then what am I modeling? To have the self-awareness to examine daily, hey, what behavior am I modeling when it comes to my business practices at home? Tell you what, man, kids see it all.
Yes, they do.
They know us inside and out. They are observing. They are observing. They are observing. And so I don't say that to like create anxiety. However, awareness. In fact, years ago, I had the blessing of being a part of our Easter play many years ago, and this was a younger Nate, and I was blessed. I portrayed Jesus during the Easter play, and there's a backstory to all that, which is talk about prayer, right?
Yeah.
I didn't want to do it, but God had called me to do that, and so as I'm preparing for this role, memorizing the scriptures and so on and so forth. However, the other part of it was a lot of folks from church knew this, and I became, I don't want to call it self-conscious, but more self-aware when I was out, and really understanding how I am portraying Christ in my day, because I didn't want to be that guy who somebody from church saw me in front of the department store yelling at my son, like, isn't that the guy playing Jesus at the play? Oh my goodness, look at him. He sure isn't acting like Jesus. And it's not that we're doing this falsely or insincerely. However, we're doing it from the perspective of, am I being obedient to model Christ in my activity, in who I am? Because sometimes, and you know this, the only Jesus someone is ever going to see is the Jesus in you.
Mm-hmm.
The only scripture they're ever going to see is the scripture laid out in you, in your actions.
Mm-hmm.
And that is something I believe that we need to be massively intentional about. Again, not insincerely, but sincerely, because we do believe that this modeling is just good for humanity. It's good for business. It's good for life.
It's good for business. It is 100%. 100%. I tell Evan, it's like, let's try to be like Jesus today as I drop him off.
Yeah.
You know?
I love it.
Yeah.
So one day, I don't always have the opportunity to ask this question to our guests, but I get to ask it to you today. And this isn't something that you've heard me ask, so this will come off. You know, this will be something you'll have to think about for a moment. One day, you'll be on the great summit just before you do meet Jesus. And you'll get to see all of those lives you got to be a part of. You'll get to see Anthony and his bicycle.
Mm-hmm.
You'll get to see all the wonderful, wonderful opportunities you had. And if you could say one thing or one phrase, one thing that you would like others to have said about Joe while he was here, what would that be?
Another great question. Because you don't think about that. And, I've been very fortunate, as I briefly talked about, having a lot of different careers and thinking about things. And, I always wanted to make the people around me to feel good, feel safe, feel like they had a cheerleader behind them, an advocate, and just, he's one of the good guys.
You're on your way.
Thanks, man.
Thanks for being here, bro.
Yeah, I love you.
Love you too.
This was great. So I hope all the listeners, don't lose faith. We're working on, what's going to make a good story, and that's, I love my wife and family, and we love watching Shark Tank, and it's wonderful to see those people that are on that show and just the commitment that they make, and, not only making that commitment to yourself, but the people that you do business with. It really is, our relationship, the things that you've been able to, open me up to and help me along the way has just been unbelievable. Today I was really looking forward to this. It was good stuff.
Yeah. Well, it's an honor.
Yeah. Thank you.